Hey, hey, everybody, welcome on in. It's time for Live at 5. This is our weekly free broadcast that we do here at ClayShare. I'm Jessica Putnam-Phillips, and tonight I've got a little treat for you and two big announcements and a sponsor, and in addition to ClayShare Con. There's a lot of stuff. So tonight we are going to be making this squared mug, and I'm going to show you how to hand build this mug with texture, how to make the handle, and then we're going to square it. So we're going to add those little points, so squares to it. But you know, when we do that, what happens is you put that rim out of round. Now, you can square that rim, but when you do it freehand, oftentimes what happens is you get a wonky rim. It just doesn't look quite right. It looks like you tried to square it, but it didn't work. So my solution is to use one of these rounder cones from Alexandria Pottery Company. She's our sponsor tonight. So Alexandria Pottery Tools. Their website is alexandriapotteryco.com. And she also has a square one. So I'm going to show you how to do the square version of the mug with a rounded rim. If you want a squared rim that's perfectly square, you can check out her website and you can get yourself a squared version of this. And you can have a squared rim too. And it will be perfectly square, unlike a freehand square, which will be a little wonky, but still organic. You can go with that too. But we're going to use the round one tonight because I don't happen to have the square one yet. Working on that. So the discount code for 15% off at Alexandria Pottery Co. AlexandriaPotteryCo.com. That's the website. Is ClayShare15, and it's all caps. So ClayShare 15. That's what you put in and you save. And we're going to be giving away tonight one of these regular cones that are the rounded one. And we're going to give away a square one too. So someone doesn't need to buy one. Someone's going to win one. And how do you enter our giveaways? You all know. You go to clayshare.com, you sign up for our emails. Premium members, you are always, always, always automatically entered. You don't have to do anything. No one needs to watch to win. We email the winner. So it's easy. You should be signed up anyways. That way you don't miss any big announcements from ClayShare. Like the two huge announcements I have to give you right now. ClayShare Con is 2 weeks from tonight. Can you believe it? I can. And it is our 5th year of doing ClayShare Con. For those of you who don't know what ClayShare Con is, it's a free online 4-day clay, ceramic, pottery, extravaganza conference. It's amazing. It's huge. We have dozens of vendors. We give away thousands of products, thousands of dollars in products, I'm sorry, I should say, hundreds of products. As our 5th anniversary is going to be this year, we have 2 monster prizes. One, we are giving away a Speedball Artista pottery wheel. So you can win a pottery wheel for free. You don't have to pay to watch ClayShare Con. You don't have to sign up for tickets and wait in line. You just sign up for our emails. Premium members, again, like I mentioned, you're automatically entered in those giveaways too. So you just sign up for our email list. You don't have to buy a ticket. You don't have to wait. You don't have to do a Zoom thing. It's on ClayShare. In fact, the last 4 years are still on ClayShare. You can go watch ClayShare Con from year 1, year 2, year 3, and year 4. And then this year will be year 5, which after it airs live, starting in 2 weeks, it'll be up there too. So we're giving away a Speedball Artista wheel. Thank you, Speedball, for sponsoring us. Speedball has been one of my personal sponsors as an artist for, I think we're at 10 years now, before I even started ClayShare Con. And the big, big announcement, I just got the confirmation from Dimitri at L&L Kilns. We are giving away a kiln. That's right. We gave one away last year. We're doing it again this year. We're giving away a L&L test kiln. I know. Pottery wheel and test kiln, and you don't have to pay a penny? What? I know. It's amazing. So a huge thank you to Speedball, huge thank you to L&L, and of course to all of our sponsors, Alexandria Pottery. She's going to be joining us for ClayShare Con for the first time, so we're really excited to have her. If you want to see the schedule for ClayShare Con, and it's getting updated, we have all of the presenters confirmed, but the details are coming in and the titles of demonstrations are coming in. So we'll be putting those up over the next few days. Go to ClayShareCon.com. That's where the schedule listing is. We'll also have promos and offers, discounts, giveaways as the companies send them to us. Most people are a little last minute in sending us the details. So as soon as we get them, we're going to put them up there. But I'm so excited again to be giving away a wheel and a kiln. You guys, get a wheel, get a kiln. You're going to get a wheel. You're going to get a kiln. I'm psyched. I'm very psyched. So yeah, that's the huge announcement that we have tonight. And in 2 weeks' time, we're going to be starting. I believe we start at 4 o'clock for a free demonstration from Sambow. And then we do our private night, which is just for premium members. So we switch over. Premium members have 3 private tutorials just for them. And then we come back at 9 a.m. on Thursday, all free and open to the public, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And then we wrap up with the wrap party. That's actually the after party. And then the after party. No, there's only one after party. So, yay! So you love to stack your cones up like a fountain? I do too. And you know what? Who saw the Great Pottery Throwdown this past week? I don't want to give any spoilers away, but, right? A little mini one. Those who saw it know what I'm talking about, right? This will be a class. I've done these before, and nobody has an idea what I'm talking about. And we'll do these this summer when we get to that. There's a challenge coming that has to do with these. Well, not these, but water features. All right, we'll get to that later. So, all right. All right. So, I'm going to start. We're going to see if we got any questions. So I need the XXL for the bottom. Okay, all right. Yeah, I know, right? Stack them up. But these are so fun. Let's make these now. So I love making mugs. I love making mugs because of many reasons. One, we can use a mug as a test for texture. We can use a mug to try out different shapes of handles and mug bodies, which we can then transform into bigger pieces, like maybe a vase or a teapot, if you will, right? Because really, what's the difference between a teapot and this? Well, a teapot has a spout and a lid. That's it. I mean, even this size, it could be a teapot, right? So you get to try out texture, you get to try out different shaped handles, you get to try out different shaped bodies, and then once it's bisque fired, you get to try out different glazes on it. And if it doesn't work out quite right, you can sell it. It's a win-win. So mugs are great. You know, years ago I didn't like making mugs because when people would come into the studio, all they wanted to do was buy a mug. And I'd be like, why don't you want to buy a vase? Or look at this great platter. But no, people want mugs. Now I'm like, yeah, buy mugs. Mugs are great. So anyhow, I'm going to show you how to make this squared handle too. So we're actually going to start with the handle. And I know that seems crazy because we haven't even made the mug. How do you know what size handle you need? But we're going to start with the handle. You know what, we'll put the texture on and get the slabs going, and then we'll make the handle, because you want your handle to have time to firm up. Do you love my ClayShare Con apron that Charlie from Play in the Mud Designs made me? It's pretty spectacular. It's actually a split leg apron, so I can wear this hand building, or I can sit at the wheel and the apron will drape over my legs and keep clay from getting all over my cute corduroy pants. They're just studio pants, but you know, they can still be cute. All right, so let's grab some clay. I've already pre-rolled out a slab to 3/8 of an inch thick. I'm using Tucker's Mid-Smooth Stone Speck clay. That is a light speckled clay. It's a really easy to work with clay. It's very forgiving, and it has a nice bright color when fired so that your glazes pop. I will show you. Here is, we'll go to camera 2. Here is the Mid-Smooth Stone Speck, the speckled clay. Can you see those little specks in there, the dark spots? Yeah, you can see them. See them right in here? Speck over there. Kind of see it through the handle with the cream on it. So this is the clay we're going to be using. This is it with royal blue speedball underglaze. That's actually what's here, but it has my Lily of the Valley Celadon on top. So by itself, it goes brighter. When you put a glaze on it, it goes a little deeper. And then the inside, nice bright green. All right, so there you go. That's the clay, and that's the tones of the clay once this is going to be fired. Now, I'm going to use my standard, this is my tried and true mug template, 4 inches by 12 inches. This is, all you need to do is get some craft foam, cut yourself strip off of it that is 4 inches tall, 12 inches long, and you can make so many different mug sizes and shapes. And you can see on here I use a 4-inch cookie cutter to make my bottom. You can also do a 3.5-inch cookie cutter, and that gives you more of a tapered bottom. I will show you this one here is with the 3.5-inch. Do you see how it comes in a little bit? This one is with the 4-inch. So you get more of a straight going down bottom. This one makes more of a bellied bottom. So either way it'll work. All right, let's grab our clay. So I've got my slabs over here already rolled out. Actually, you know what, I'll show you. Everybody always asks. So I did a video last week, I believe I put it up, showing how I roll out my slabs and how I prepare the clay before I do. That's a little free thing. You can go check that out. I put that up on social media. I believe we put it on ClayShare as well. But I roll my slabs out, and then I lay a sheet of plastic down, and then I divide my slabs up, and I just lay them on here. Now your slabs are not going to stick to each other because they're not under so much pressure that they'll be joined, and they're not wet. So, I mean, they're wet from rolling, but they're not wet enough to join. This is why when you join 2 pieces of clay together, you must slip and score and really compress them, because if not, they just come apart. All right, so this one's not quite big enough for us to do what we want to do. So we're going to go ahead and take some of this off. So normally what I'll do is I'll just put my template up against there, and I'll just trim off a slice, just like that. And then I fold everything back up to keep it from drying out and store it again. And I have these really great racks. They're called bun racks, kind of like a baking rack. And these boards right here are the size that fits in them, and I can just slide this in the bun rack and just leave it there. And if I have multiple clays going, like this is the Tucker's Smooth Stone Speck, I'll just write on a little card, Tucker's Smooth Stone Speck, and lay it on this. And then if I have some Tucker's Red, I will put a little card on that, Tucker Red. Laguna 60, same thing. So I can have 3 or 4 different slabs of different types of clay going at the same time, and I won't get confused, and I can make bakeware, or I can make where I'm gonna carve. I can even have some porcelain slabs happening if I'm doing some porcelain work. But it really gives me a lot of freedom in my studio to use any type of clay that I like, depending on the project I'm working on. All right, so this slab has been sitting for a few days. That's the other thing about wrapping them up like that, is your slab can sit for, I've kept them like that for 2 weeks. I don't spray them with water. I don't do anything. I just cover them well with plastic. But sometimes your clay needs to be woken up from sitting. It'll stiffen up a little bit. So if you just drop it either on the floor or on your workspace, you'll kind of wake it back up. So there we go. How many pounds of clay is this? I mean, I rolled out a whole bag of clay in that video. So that's what? Tucker's is Canadian clay, so I think that's 22 pounds of clay, right? But I also roll out Laguna, 25 pounds of clay. For this, I'm going to tell you, you don't want to really make a mug. You want to make at least 2 mugs or 3 mugs at a time, just because you'll get better and better as you go. But for me, I would say this is about 4 pounds of clay right here. Although that's just a guess. I don't have a scale right nearby. I mean, I have one down at my wedging table. All right, let's go ahead and I will smooth the clay. All right, so 3/8 of an inch. That's pretty thick, but we've already thinned it down a bit. When I dropped it, I don't know if you noticed how it stretched a little, so that thinned it a tiny bit. I'm smoothing it out, aligning the particles of clay, getting rid of the canvas texture that's on there, and thinning it out again. And then I'm going to roll a textured roller on it, which will also thin it down. So it's going to end up being about 1/4 inch thick, which still might seem kind of thick, but we're going to stretch that clay. We're going to add a lot of volume to it. And if your clay is too thin, when you go to stretch it, what's going to happen is it's going to tear and break on you. All right, so I've got my Art Nouveau roller, which I'm going to use, and we'll just press it down in. And when you're rolling with a rolling pin, you want to put your pressure straight down. And hopefully my head doesn't get in the way of the camera. And you want to kind of be over the clay. Now with these big 12-inch rollers, it's hard for me to use the handles. I'm not a big person. I can't put a lot of pressure on these. So for me, I just roll from the barrel. But if you're a bigger person, you can put like tall. I think it's my height. I'm only 5'2". If I was taller, I think I could put more downward force on it, and then I could get all of the texture easily. But I'm not. I'm not taller, and I'm not likely to get any taller. At this point, I don't think that's going to happen. Probably, if anything, I'm going to get shorter, maybe a bit wider. You knew I was going there. Had to have a Hobbit reference. All right, so I've got this really nice texture rolled in. So, question about stop using B-Mix. So B-Mix is good. It's still a good clay. But I found B-Mix is more prone to cracking and warping. They changed the formula of B-Mix. I haven't liked it as much since they changed it last year or the year before. I'm not sure when. It feels like they just did it a few minutes ago. But so for me, I find that the Tuckers works just as well as the B-Mix. I can get it, and it's just easier. So I've been going with the Tucker. All right, so we're going to cut a piece out, and I should have grabbed a little more clay because I need some for my foot, for the base, and that's not going to get us, it's not going to get us there. So we're going to grab another chunk. I got that other piece. Now I'm going to pick my design. Now any clay that's excess, we're just going to wedge back up, and I put back in the bag, and I use that clay to make handles, to sculpt things. We're going to make whistles next in our primetime broadcast for premium members. So we'll use that clay for sculpting whistles. All right, so my top and bottom, I cut straight up and down. I just hold the knife straight up and down, and then the ends I cut on an angle. What degree, you're going to ask me, and I'm going to tell you it doesn't matter. What matters is that you hold your hand at the same position. Doesn't matter whether you're here, 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 here. It really doesn't matter. Just get a position that's comfortable for you and hold it there. And just cut and cut. They will match perfectly as long as you hold your hand at the same angle. Now you could buy a beveler. I saw last week Debbie had a really great one, and that worked fabulous. So if you have one of those, you could use that. But I don't have one, so I'm just going to go ahead and cut mine with an angle. All right. So here we have our slab, and we're going to get our base, and then we'll pull our handles. So let me grab that little slab, that little tiny chunk of clay that I had right here. This is the scrap from another slab that I was making things with. Some secret things. I can't tell you. It's for a future class. And I could just cut this, but, you know, I want to put texture on this. So let's cut some of it off. We'll put the rest back in our little stockpile there. I'll grab another board. So this is a homemade wear board from 3/4 inch birch plywood. Any plywood will do if you would like to make these. We have a little tutorial on them. And then the other boards I love to use are GR Pottery Forms, has some really nice ones. So I use them a lot. All right, so we need 4 inches. We got it. And I want texture on this, so we're going to go with that. Now for something like this, it's small, so I completely can roll with the handles, but it's just getting even pressure across for a big slab for me. That's why we have the 12-inch, but we also do these in a 7-inch. Woohoo! 7-inch, because I can roll from the handles with the 7-inch. So really, we started making the smaller sizes for me, and we heard you guys love them too. And then the mini rollers, which are a whole nother little creature. All right, so here we have, when you pull your clay up, I want to show you. Do you see how when I pulled it up, it pulled and warped a little? You fix that. You just drop it back down. Flattens it right back out. Don't worry about it warping. People will always say to me, oh, but you pulled it and it'll warp. It won't, I promise. I've never had that happen, ever. So it's not going to. All right, so there we have our bottom, and look how pretty it is. See, you made something nice and pretty for the person that washes the dishes. So when they look at the bottom, they have something like this to look at. Isn't that nice? Instead of just a plain bottom, give them a pretty bottom. All right, I'm going to use my stamp to sign this. So I'm just going to press that in there. And then we will flip this over. I like using these little wear boards I have a lot of different wear boards, you'll notice. But because I have lots of different things I got to do. So this one is an insert from Studio Pro Bat's Studio Bat system. I'm just going to clean it off. Had a little dry clay on it. And they're meant to go for wheel throwing in an insert, but I tell you, I like them for just hand building. All right, so there's our bottom. That's done. We've got our side done. Let's make our handles. So who's that's going to be making rolling pin racks for sale soon? I can't share it yet. I did mention it on Monday morning's Good Morning ClayShare, but I don't want to put any pressure on them or anything out there, so as soon as we have more info, I will pass it along. All right, so I'm just wedging up some of this clay. And again, this clay here will just get dunked in my water bucket, and then I'll put it back in the bag, and we'll use this to make whistles. So there's no waste. It gets used again. All right, so we're making like a fat sausage, and then we're gonna roll it out to make it a carrot or a parsnip if you prefer. And then we're gonna pull it. Now, if you don't like pulling handles, you can make a handle from a handheld extrusion, whether it's from Diamond Core Tools or from an extruder. You can make a hollow handle. I have tutorials on that. And you can make slab handles, and we do that as well. Now, I'm teaching a teapot workshop March 2nd over in New York State, and we're going to be making a hollow handle for that teapot. It's going to be awesome. I believe it's already full, so I haven't promoted it because I know when I announce I have workshops, they sell out within 5 minutes, and I just didn't want to cause any frenzy. So I will check and see, though. All right, so to pull a handle, it's simple. I have a free tutorial on how to pull a handle. There's 3 steps that I have named here for pulling handles. So we have our thumb pull, we have our U or side pull, and then we have our scissor pull. So you should check that free tutorial out if you haven't yet. It's really great. I think I even put it on my YouTube channel. I think it's on there as well. So when you're pulling, if you find an air bubble, you've got a couple choices. You can ignore it and keep pulling, and hopefully it'll pop, which is usually what happens. Or you can pinch the clay off and start over. So it's up to you. Now, I like a handle that's about as thick as the clay we're going to be working with. So the clay is going to be about 1/4 inch thick, so we're going for about 1/4 inch thick handle. And that's where our scissor pull comes in. All right, that looks pretty good. So there we have it. Now, I'm just going to sit this on the board, and I'll show you how it's sitting. Oh, it's so big. I mean, this handle could be on a pitcher. It's giant. It'll do the job. All right, so we're going to sit that to the side and let the handle stiffen up. That way we can continue on with making the squared mug. It's over in Troy, New York, is where I'm going to be. Troy area. It used to be the Collar City Clay Guild. They've changed now. I don't remember the name of their organization. I'm so sorry. Must apologize. I have to check my emails. All right, so this is going to be the top. You pick top. I'm just going to go ahead and smooth that edge. Now, when you roll your texture, you could decide to offset and come down 1/2 inch, and you could roll your texture and then cut your slab, leaving 1/2 inch of clay without texture. Some people like to do that. That way they don't have to do so much smoothing. Because if you have too much texture on your rim, when we're shaping it and everything, it can sometimes break a bit, and you have little areas you have to go back and smooth, or it could crack. All right, so we smooth that out. Now I'm going to slip and score. And any serrated rib will work. This is the L12 from Mud Tools. If If you're going to be at NCECA, which I will be at NCECA in March in Richmond, they will have these for sale. So if you're in the market for one of these L12 serrated ribs, you can get them. They have other ones too. They have ones with more teeth, with less teeth. Just depends what you want. All right, so you see how my clay is standing up on its own and not flopping over? That's because I rolled my slab out a couple days ago and it's been sitting and it's stiffened up. Now, if I had rolled it out today, I just would have let it stiffen up for about 20 minutes and that would have given it enough time so it wasn't falling over on me. You know, if you try to do this and your clay is just falling down, just wait. Just take a break. Go have a cup of tea or something. Watch somebody make some pots and, you know, get your sketchbook out, do a little sketching. All right, so I'm supporting with my hand behind the seam, and I'm doing a rolling motion. I'm not smearing, I'm just rolling. And that's joining the clay. And I'm just pressing my fingers against the inside. We'll smooth our seam there. And then, if you look, see my inside seam? I mean, it doesn't look bad, but it's not joined. So we need to take care of that. So to do that, you can use a wooden knife, the back of a wooden knife. Or I like these red ribs. Again, this is another tool from Cheryl Mud Tools. And this is their #1 rib. Not a sponsor, just I like their products. So just putting it out there. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and support the outside while I smooth over the seam. Now, when I said let your clay sit up, don't let your clay sit up so much that it becomes too stiff because we want to add volume. And if your clay is too stiff, it could crack. All right, so we got that a little out of round, but that's okay. We'll just use our rounder cone, and we got it back to round, no problem. So this is going to be the bottom. So we'll sit that off to the side, and we'll grab a banding wheel. This one is a Shimpo Nidec banding wheel. This is the one I bought at the first NCECA I ever went to. This is the one I carried around, like, all day long in my bag because I was a newbie at NCECA and I didn't know they would hold it for me at their booth. So all day long, this giant beast was in my bag. I got a workout. So that's the other thing. If you go to NCECA, they will hold products with your name on it. So you don't have to carry it around all day. Don't be like me. Learn from me. Don't do as I do. All right, so we're going to slip and score about 1/4 of an inch in from the edge, and I have dipped. So the way I slip and score is I just have magic water with a bit of clay in it. I have at least 4 little containers like this, and on it it will say what clay I'm using. So this happens to be speck and smooth stone clay from Tucker's, and I write that on the container's lid. I have one for porcelain, I have one for paper clay, I have one for dark clays, chocolate trail mix clay, all the clays I use. And they just stack in a little trolley that I have, a little cart. And they're great. That way I'm getting the right slip. And by dipping this in the magic water and then scoring, I've created slip. So it's a 1-step. I just score and slip at the same time. It's done. So that part's done. Now we'll do the same thing to our base. So this is why I say make 2 or 3 at the same time, because you can have 2 or 3 bases cut out waiting. You can make 2 or 3 cylinders waiting. You can slip and score all of them at the same time. And then you go down the line and you join them all at the same time, and then you do your volume all at the same time. It's easier to make 2 or 3 at the same time. It doesn't really take much longer than making 1. So if you want to get into making multiples, try making 2 or 3. All right, we set this on, and so now I'm just going to nudge my clay so that the edge has lined up with the circle on the bottom. And we know that the bottom of my mug is going to be perfectly round because I use the cookie cutter to make the shape. And I know the top's going to be perfectly round because I'm going to use this cone in it right there. And you could stop here. Well, we got to join it. But this could be your mug shape. This is the shape my husband loves the most. Like Kevin loves this shape. I'm more of a curve girl. I want a belly, you know, I want lots of stuff going on. But if you want straight up and down, more like diner style, then this is for you. All right, so for the outside, what I do, and you could use either, again, the back end of a wooden rib. I use a mud tools chopping list. Make it, because you're going to get some if you go to NCECA. This is a number 3 yellow. So number 3 yellow, number 1 red, and the L12. These are all mud tools. Those are my go-to mud tools. All right, so all I do is I press the tip up against the side, and I just let it roll around, and I spin this on the banding wheel. And that bit of clay, just take your sponge, wipe it off. Do it again. Maybe raise your angle a bit so you're making a little bit bigger line at the bottom. What we want to do is we want to come up past where the join is. So the join is about here, but we want to be up a bit higher. And this is sealing that seam from the outside. So we've sealed it there. And then this is someone asked to show you guys how to make the lip at the bottom. Take your wooden clay knife, and now you're trimming it on the banding wheel. And you just do this lovely undercut. It creates a really nice finished edge. And that's it. Now for the inside, because you got to do something there, we don't need to add a coil, but we'll tamp it just a little bit. And then I take a little synthetic brush. It could be a natural brush, doesn't matter. I take a beaten up old brush, dip it in my magic water, tap it off a little bit so it's not soaking wet, and then I smooth that seam out that's in there. And so I'm sealing the seam from the inside, going back and forth with my paintbrush, and that's it. It seals it up. And that's all you need to do for sealing the bottom of a mug. You don't have to put coils in there or anything like that, unless you just really like doing that, which that's fine. All right, so we've made our shape, and that looks great all by itself, but we're going to add volume. So I'm just going to come in and smooth the seam, make sure the join on the side is nice and smoothed out. And now we're going to take that mud tool rib, and I'm going to do the volume to create the shape. So I'm going to take my hand and I'm going to put it up against the side right here. And I'm going to press here and hold the bottom, and then I'm going to sweep from the inside with my rib, starting at about here. So I'm going to be a little higher, kind of sweeping the mug into my cupped palm. So what I'm doing is the shape I'm going to create, this shape right here that we create, is actually the shape of my cupped hand. So that's my hand. And yours might be a little different shape because everybody's hands are a little different. So I'm going to put my hand up against the side, and I'm just going to start sweeping. And this is the motion I do, just holding the rib like this, and we just sweep it. And this is how I always add volume to all of my hand-built mugs. This is why everybody always says to me, is that wheel thrown? I'm like, nope, it's hand-built. It looks wheel thrown, but it's not. So you can fool your friends with this amazing trick. And so you just spin it around and around, and the more you sweep and add volume, the chubbier your little mug gets. Now I'm going to start coming up, so I'm just raising my hands, so I'm sweeping and it's spinning, and I'm just doing this, and then slowly I start to raise up. But I'm only going to come up about halfway. I'm not going to go any further than halfway up the mug. And this is how I make my mugs, my just regular mugs, like the mugs that were behind me that I showed a little while ago. And you could stop here with this shape if you like this. You don't have to square it. I just thought it'd be fun to do a little something else to it. It's always nice to change up your mugs. It gets a little boring to make the same mug all the time. But you see how my clay's not splitting or cracking? That's because my clay is not too dry or too thin. How's that look? Oh, that's pretty nice. So you have to get down a little bit to see it, but it looks pretty good. Sometimes I really see how far I can push it, and I make these really, really, really wide-bellied mugs. All right, so I'm just going to softly taper it off a little and stop. Now you can put it back in the round. And if you just wanted to stop here and not square it, I would put the rounder in and then I'd roll my finger, and that would create a little outward flare. But we're going to square this, and I want to put my handle here. This is where the seam is. So I want this side to be flat. So I know I can go in and just press in there, press in here. So I'm creating an oval. This is probably best from above. So we're going to oval it first, and then holding, we're going to press in on the side. So I'm holding my thumbs on my seam, and then we'll come to the front and we'll press back too. Now, Alexandria has a square version of this. So if you make this mug and you want to continue that square theme that we're going to do, you could square your rim. But what we're doing here is we're going to do points. So we want to just pick where the corners would be. All right, now we're going to take a clean, damp finger, and we are going to go inside and we're going to pull up. And you can support from the outside, but do you see the point I just created? You see how it's a little bit pointed? We'll do the same here. So I didn't really want a squared rim, but I needed to square it in order to get my references for where I'm going to pull up on the sides. So we're just dragging the finger up, just like if you're a wheel thrower and you make ribbed pottery, like I make melon mugs and pumpkin mugs and vases and stuff like that. This is the exact same thing, except we're doing it on a hand-built piece. So can you tell that it's squared? Are you seeing it? Is it coming across, I hope, on the camera? See my finger right there moving? Shaping it. Now you have a choice when it comes to the sides between your points. You can really go ahead and flatten it in. If you really want to make it super squared looking, like you really want that, you can do that. Now look how squared it looks. Or if you want the slight square, but yet still have a belly, you can take your fingers, and I usually just pull up just a bit, just slightly rounding that back out. Just like this. So it's up to you. I love this shape with this texture. It's great. I only picked it because I was like, I haven't used this one in a while. So now you could keep this squared, but here's the thing. When you do this freehand like that, it won't stay perfect square. It'll move a bit, it'll be slightly wonky. That's okay. You can have that. Now if you have the squared cone, the square cone that Alexandria has, you could just stick that in there and you could really square it off and make those squares perfect. I mean, we could try and we might get there. Or you can say, you know what, I'm not even going to fight it. The bottom is round, the bottom's a circle, the middle is a square, and then the top is going back to a circle. That's what I'm going to do. And so I put this in. Now, if your clay is a little sticky and wet, which this is, you could use cornstarch on here and just brush a little cornstarch on your tool. And then, do you see what I was talking about? I'm taking my finger and I'm just rolling down the clay a little bit. And I'm releasing it from the clay. I don't want it to stick. I could have used a little cornstarch. But do you see now I've created this really nice little outward flare that we're having there? And that's the mug. It's basically done. You love seeing a new shape to try. Yes. Right? So that you can see the square. It's coming through. It's subtle. Like, it's not screaming, I'm a square at you. You look at it and you recognize there's something a little different. Here's completely rounded, right? Here's the squared. And you see something a little different, but yet it's not, you're not quite sure, right? Most people will be like, I like it though. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and smooth our rim. We did smooth it already, so we don't have the texture. Do you see what I was saying? When I smoothed that over, I smoothed down the side so that we don't have this kind of texture up here. Nobody wants to drink on this texture. It's beautiful, but we don't want to rub our lips on it. Most normal people don't want to do that, at least. So, I mean, if you want that, that's your choice, and I'm not judging. But we're going to do the taco sponge. You take your sponge, you fold it into a little taco, wrap it around your rim, and you just let it ride around. And we're doing a couple things here. We're compressing the rim a tiny bit. We're smoothing it over, but we're also rounding it and giving it a really nice finish so that when this is used and someone does put their lips to it, it's a nice smooth feel. Plus, we've thinned down the rim now a tiny bit more, which means it'll be more pleasant, better mouth feel, right? Better mouth experience for the user. So now, once you've done this, you've got a gorgeous vase, or you put a handle on it, and you get a mug, which is what we're going to do. Now, I like to put my handle on the seam, not on the corner. It just, with one of these squared mugs, it doesn't matter. You can try some other things, but since I have a seam right there, it just tells me, hey, this is a good place to put a handle. We already have something going on there. Now, I do like to use seams for adding buttons if I'm doing like a sweater mug, or if I want to really call attention to this. Sometimes we'll put little embellishments. You could put flowers down here, and then you could put your handle back here. You could make it look like it folded over, you know, like a sweater or something. So many things you can do with that seam. You don't have to hide it. You can be proud of your seams. There's nothing wrong with your seams. So where is the seam? It's almost impossible to see, isn't it? It's right there. You want Kevin to zoom in? Zoom in. Zoom in and let's show the folks the seam. You barely see it. Okay, that's a little crazy. Here. You can barely see the seam. There it is, right there. This pattern almost hides it. See, when I turn it, you see it right there. But other than that, where's the seam, right? It's a little guessing game. So, you know, if we're doing a sweater mug, and we have a tutorial on making sweater mugs, I think we have 2 or 3 of them. We also did a sweater teapot. We use that seam to put buttons on it and highlight that seam. Actually, here's a sweater mug, and here's the seam. So I did the seam a little off center. I put buttons here. Would anybody know that's the seam? It just looks like the edge of a sweater, right? So this is a sweater mug. All right, let's put our handle on. If your rim cone sticks a bit, just give it a little twist. It'll pop right out. Yeah. Oh, Alexandria uses them on her wheel thrown pots. That's the other thing too, is you can use these on your wheel thrown pottery as well. And I've got the bigger one, and it does go in here. Like I could use the bigger one, but it doesn't really go very far. So this is a little too big. But I do like stacking them together. That's how they stay in my studio. They're just stored like this, sitting there looking cute like a water feature. Let's do our handle. All right, I'm gonna go ahead, and this lump of clay we don't need. Thunk. All right, so that's gonna go in the bag and be recycled into a whistle. I mean, this is about as much clay as we need for a whistle, folks. So, I mean, I could just wedge this up and start working, and this could be a whistle. Ready? I'll quickly do it. Here, I think I have, oh, magic. Look, there. It's a whistle, and it's all done. Does it work? Oh, wow, it does. We're doing those next. I couldn't help myself. All right, back to the handle. Silly time over. All right, so this is way too long. Usually I make my handles about 7 inches in length for a mug, and this is way more clay than we need. So let's just trim some more off, because 5 to 7 inches. Now I have that big window because everybody's got different size hands. Some people have really big hands, so they're gonna want a big handle. Look at that handle. Some folks have middle-sized hands, and they're gonna want that size handle. And some folks have teeny tiny hands like me, and they want this sized handle. So there is no one Goldilocks handle size. There's multi, because everybody has different size hands. So when I make mugs, these 3 mugs, each one of them has a different handle. So different people will gravitate to a different one. And I tell you, when you're buying a mug, you definitely want to buy the mug that fits your hand the best. Yeah, you can go with the one that looks coolest. I mean, it should look cool no matter what. But, you know, if you're buying a mug from somebody and there's 2 mugs, they're almost the same, and you can't pick between the 2, you're having some decision issues, get the one that fits your hand the best. All right, so I have a little flower cookie cutter I use. I think it's 1 3/4 of an inch across. And you could use a 2-inch if you wanted to. And I just cut it into this dog paw shape. I know Debbie from De La Design Gifts has a handle cutter she designed because she struggled with these. So she went ahead and saw a need and filled that need. It was the need for herself, but yet helps so many others. So we're just flaring this out a bit. I'm going to go ahead and get the bottom too. So there's the handle. And then to shape it, I just press it onto a wear board or my counter here and flatten and flare that out. So here I have a handle like that. And that's a good size, that's an average size handle, I think. So I'm going to slightly curve it in. Let's slip and score. So we slip and scored the handle, and I'm just going to line this up. I want it to go about here. We're not attaching it yet. This is preliminary work here. And then the bottom, slip and score. And let's see, let's get down here. Yeah, I like it there. All right, so now we pull this off, and it's going to leave behind traces of that slip, which is perfect because now we know where we need to slip and score on our mug. And then we can go ahead, get your hands clean. If your hands are dirty and have dried clay on them, putting on handles is going to be messy. Those little bits of dried clay will come off your hands, they will stick to your handle. You'll get a cleaner, better result if you just clean your hands in between. All right, so I'm using my finger on the inside to support it while I press with my thumb on the underside. I know it's kind of hard, maybe I can flip that up. Here, now you can really see. I don't usually do this because it does change the shape of the handle sometimes, but I want you all to see what's going down. All right, and then I bring the bottom in. I do an alignment to make sure that it's lined up top to bottom. Put my hand down in inside the mug, and then I just roll out on the sides, roll down the bottom, and roll up a bit. And you'll feel it kind of squish on there, and that's what you want. Now, I also like to use these after I put the handle on, because you can press against it. You have a nice rigid surface on the inside of your mug. You're not going to distort it while you're pressing in, right? So you can get this really nice round rim again. All right, so we have a handle, and that's my normal usual handle, but we're going to do a squared handle. And so to do that, all we're going to do, and I'm going to get down here, and this is what I do when I'm in the studio working. I have these really thick pads that I use for their anti-fatigue mats, and I get the extra thick ones. How thick? 1/2 inch, 3/4? They're like a cushion almost. And I will have them where I'm working, so when I get down and I'm on my knees in the studio, it doesn't hurt my knees. You could keep a little stool, though, and you could use that. All right, so for squaring, all you do is press in and kind of pull down a bit. Do you see how we just squared that? Do you see that shape? I did that just like that. Now it's really fun to play with different shape handles, and I often like to look at the shape of my mug and see what's going on with that and try to make a handle that somehow relates to that mug. So there's like a conversation between the handle and the mug. They belong together. There's a design element that is cohesive. So now, where there's little bits of slip that has squished out, I will take my soft brush, my one that I use on the inside, and I will clean that slip up, because that slip there that has squished out, that really wet slip, what's going to happen is that's going to dry slower. It's going to keep the clay really wet, and the clay around it's going to dry, and it's going to pull open, and that's why you get cracks. So if you get cracks on your handles, it's from most likely slip being left behind. So you go in there and you clean it up. I know I had to be a little bit of a teacher there and share that, a little bit of a lecture. Clean up your slip. It makes a huge difference. My handles never crack, ever. They don't. Go figure. I'm magic. No, it's just because I clean up my slip. That's all. That is all there is. And this is a nice way to do it with this little brush. And that's it. mug done. So, you know, the only other thing to do is, I'm just gonna make sure I've got the bottom of the handle on nicely. I let it sit up till it's leather hard. Once it's leather hard, I do a little cleanup because you always want to go back in and clean your things up. We'll grab this one. So here's one I made yesterday. And I really love these purple sponges for doing cleanup and for dark groggy clays. Well, actually any kind of groggy clay, not necessarily dark. I want to make sure I wipe down the rim because just through drawing and being in the studio, I could have bumped it. I want to go ahead and gently wipe down the handle because someone's going to hold this here. You don't want rough, these areas here on the side often get overlooked, and I will pick up mugs when I'm at markets and craft fairs and I'll feel like a little sharp thing and I'm like, oh, all you had to do was wipe your handle. And then the bottoms, you just take this and you just gently, this edge right here, we just want to take that down. We don't want that to be sharp. You can take your thumb, clean, damp thumb, and you can use that to just gently round that over, and then you just wipe it. And that's it. The handle's done. I mean, the mug and the handle, the whole thing, it's done. So what does it have to do? We just put it under plastic and I let it dry. The Tucker's Smooth Stone Clay has been so amazing for me that these mugs will be in the kiln next week for a bisque. Next Wednesday, I'll be bisquing them and then glazing them. So I used to, with B-Mix, have 2 weeks at least, even if I waxed all my joints. And it sometimes warped. The Tucker's doesn't warp on me. But it's not only Tucker's. I know other companies have stoneware. It's just, this is not a porcelainous stoneware. It's just a stoneware, and that makes the difference. So, all right. So there we have it. Cute handle, cute mug, squared, round rim, right? So it's awesome. I did want to mention a couple things. Now, Alexandria Pottery is giving away 2 prizes tonight. We have a regular rim cone and we have a square rim cone. But her company makes more than just the hand building tools. They do have a hand building jig, which I haven't tried yet, but she sent me a bunch of things to test out. Wait till you see these all. I'm going to do so we've switched to doing weekly sponsors instead of monthly, which means Alexandria is going to be here with us during ClayShare Con, but also I'm going to do a demo later in the year featuring her tools because she has these really great foot tools right here. So this is a profile tool for trimming a foot, and I'm really excited to use these. I just haven't had a chance to get on the wheel with them. Let me open this up. So look at this. So you get this. I'm going to put my finger on there. You can see the shape. You'd use it like this, I think. But you could flip it around. So you put this up against the foot when you're throwing on the wheel, or you could even do it hand building, and you'll get that little shape. Now, she also has these fabulous profile ribs for putting shapes on, too. Look at that. So you put this up against your clay. You pull your cylinder up, you press this up against the side, and you just press it in. And it makes the shape. And the great thing about that is you get a consistent shape every time. Look how fancy that shape is. And you can see with the white, the negative, that's what your pot's going to look like. You want it to be a vase like that? You want it to be a mug like that? I don't know. You figure that out. That's where I leave it all up to you. Here's another one. That's got a nice wipes paper. This seems to work really well. Look at that shape, right? That's pretty nice. So she has tons of these profile ribs on her website. That's a fun one. I want to do some of those. I like to put the throw marks in my pots, but that would do it for me. There's another one. So she's got tons. We have to have a throwing day, and we have to make a lot of pots because I've got to make 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 cylinders. I need to make 12 cylinders so I can try all of these. So we'll have a throwing day after ClayShare Con. It'll be after spring or late spring, but yeah, we'll do that. Okay, so we're giving away 2 prizes right now. So could you make that tool to trim or just make a foot? It's going to have a little cutout in it. So, I mean, could you trim with it? I think, well, the side of it, sure. Why not? The chicken whistle, I know. We're going to make the chicken. We're going to make 2 whistles tonight. You just wait. Just hold on. All right. the first winner tonight of the round one, the round rim cone, is Barbara Crow. Barbara, I guess we're on the front now. I don't know, I'm looking at the side camera. I could be looking at the overhead or over, I don't know what's going on. Congratulations, Barbara. You're gonna get to have one of these and try it out. They're great. I love it. It's so handy. The foot tool I showed creates a flap to frill up at the bottom. Ooh la la, that sounds very fancy. I want to create a flap to frill up my bottom. We'll do a wheel throwing demo. Now, Alexandria is going to be with us on ClayShare Con, so maybe she'll show some of those. I don't know. We just got her on board yesterday or Monday. I'm pretty excited to have her join us. So, and then the second winner, who's going to get the square rim rounder. So it's the square rim cone. I call them rounders because I round it off, but it's a rim cone, to be correct, is Gordon Foreman. Gordon, congratulations. So you and Barbara are going to get yourself some rim cones to play with. So Barbara's going to get the round one, and Gordon's going to get the square. So you can both make this squared mug, and then you can change it up and maybe, I don't know, make a square rim on a round mug, do a square rim on a squared mug. I don't know. So how do you get your name in the drawings to win? You just go to clayshare.com, sign up for our email list. That's it. And our premium members are automatically entered always. They don't have to do anything. That's one of the perks. They just can sit back and relax. So, all right. Whew. Okay. Now I'm out of breath. Made the mug. Yeah, a lot lighter than the terracotta rim rounder. So that is the thing. I use a terracotta pot before I got these, and I think it's a great option, you know, for some folks, but this is much lighter. The terracotta pot weighs down your pot. It can kind of crush it a little bit and distort it. This does not, and that's why this is, I think, fabulous, because it doesn't have that added weight. So, okie dokie, everybody. Well, that's what we're going to do for this week. We made the squared mug with the squared handle with a round rim, and we made the big announcement that ClayShare Con is 2 weeks away, and we will be giving away a brand new L&L kiln and a brand new Artista wheel. Thank you, L&L and Speedball, for those fabulous prizes. And we're going to be pulling out all the stops since it is our 5th anniversary of doing ClayShare Con. And this year, are we going in our 8th year of ClayShare? Where are we at? I don't know. Poor Kevin. It's our 7th anniversary. So coming in June. So I'm really excited that just in a few short years we've been able to do all this, and that I can give you all kilns and wheels. That's really, I love it. I'm like, oh, I want to give away. Who would think, you know, when you start out as a potter, as a baby potter, you know, making your little baby pots, and one day I'm going to give away a wheel. Not I'm going to have my own wheel. I'm going to give away a kiln. Not that I'm going to have my own kiln. I'm going to give you one. So to win those, again, you just sign up on clayshare.com for our email list. That's it. Same thing. Easy peasy. To see the schedule for ClayShare Con, go to claysharecon.com. We have the schedule posted there, and as the participants send us the information for their demos and everything, we'll be adding that to that website and posting it. So very exciting. Only 2 weeks left. I know, a long, long way since our Periscope days. Can you believe that? That's a decade ago. Wow. All right, everyone. Premium members, we're making whistles. In just a minute, I've got 2 new whistle designs I want to share with you. A chicken whistle and a kitty cat whistle. Both of them work. I'm going to show you a foolproof way to make a whistle. Anybody can make a whistle. I guarantee I can show you how. So premium members, stay tuned. We'll be back for this tutorial next. Everyone else, I will see you all next week for another great live